Hi, in this video we're going to be looking at the matrix object and matrix control. These two objects kind of live together. One is used to sort of control the other. Now the matrix is quite a good way of actually mixing various signals together, and it gives us a great deal of flexibility that we can actually select which signals are actually sent to a mixer. So it's a bit like a selecting routing objects, routing signals to a group channel, for example. So creating I've already created EZ DAC and a fader to control the audio level, so we just sort of put that down low so we don't blast our ears out. And to create the matrix object, if we create a new object and oops, and we want this one. Now we have a couple of arguments. The first one is the number of inlets, so that's the number of signals we want to mix in, and then we have our number of outputs. So we're going to start off with a stereo one. So this gives us 3 inputs, and our output would sort of go there. So we're going to route that to our live gain, and then we'll make this sort of bigger. So for this example, I'm going to create several cycle objects. So we'll start this at so we've got a cycle object which works at 100 Hertz. So I'll just sort of duplicate these. 200, and then this final one 300. So we've got 3 oscillators. We'll patch them into the respective inputs of our matrix object there. Now what we do is we create our matrix controller. So new object, and it's this matrix control, and it's literally is a grid. So the grid is based upon if I just sort of start this up, and we can sort of select which inputs and outputs we want to go on this one. So the way that it works is that it's like a channel routing. So we've got our outputs along this line, and then we have our inputs here. So I shall, if we want to actually change this, because it's a bit bigger than we actually need, if we then look at the inspector, which is on the side here. So at the moment it's set up to have 8 columns and 4 rows. So what we really need is, because we've got 3 inputs, we want it to be 3 inputs, and we'll have one row as an output there. So if I output this there, so now I can select routing for that. So I've got 3 inputs. If I click on it, it will be routed to this output. So we need to connect this to our input. Let me just sort of move this around there. If we look at the inspector, now sometimes you may find that it will only allow you to select one. So whenever you sort of go on to another one, it selects, and that's because if we have a look at the inspector, one of these has been selected. So sometimes one non-zero cell per matrix, sometimes these are selected. So if it's doing unusual behavior, I would actually look at those. So if we start this off, and we should be able to hear we're just listening to this cycle at 100 Hertz. If I click this second one, now this is mixing together the signal from 1 and 2, and then I can add the 3 together. So I'm mixing together these 3 audio signals, and we can sort of have any sort of combination of the sort of 3 like that. So it's a fairly sort of powerful way of actually sort of routing together various signals. So this next example, what I'm wanting to do is we'll just sort of turn this off. If we want to make this into, we'll make this into a stereo sort of matrix. So we just need to do a slight sort of change here. If I select a live gain, it's currently set to be mono. But if I select number of channels, make that 2. And so then we route our second channel to that. So we've got a first channel going to the left, second one to right. And now if I make my matrix, it's set up to have 3 inputs and 1 output. So if we change that now to have 2 outlets, we'll just sort of move that along. So this is output 1, output 0 and output 1. So we route the second output to this channel there. So the second thing we need to change is if we look at the inspector for our matrix control, and we need to add a row to this. So 2 rows. So the main difference is we've made this into a stereo gain. We've made our matrix to have 2 outputs, and then we've changed our matrix control to have sort of 2 rows. So if I sort of start this off, so I've got now we've got our 3 inputs which go from down to the bottom. So this is kind of like routing. So same as before, if I wanted to route to the left hand channel, I can click all these 3 or any sort of combination of the 2. Now if I want to connect to the right channel, I can do the same but on this row. So we can have any sort of combination of these for that. So this is it's a fairly good way of actually mixing together several sort of audio paths. So that's matrix and matrix control.